Let's talk about what it's like to compete as a white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The white belt division is a very special division because it's the largest division and it's the division that has the most disparity in skill. When I say disparity in skill, I mean there are people who have been wrestling for 10 years and were state champion wrestlers, but have only been doing jiu-jitsu for a couple months, and they're 2 stripes on their white belts, but they have like a killer kimura, and they can double leg you through the planet. So those guys are a lot more intimidating than the recreational guy who's been training for, I don't know, a year, a couple days a week, and is a little bit out of shape. He's also a white belt. So there's a huge skill disparity in that division. But on top of that, most people don't know how to compete as a white belt. And so that brings a whole new level of challenge. How do we get over the nerves and anxiety? So most of the time when you're competing as a white belt, people are so intense and so just tight and full of energy. They're expending everything they can to go for a takedown, to go for a submission attempt, and they're going to burn themselves out. And how do I know this? Because I did that exact same thing, and I see it happen all the time. So as a white belt, if you can stay calmer than your competition, chances are you're going to conserve way more energy, and you're going to be doing better. Because I've never been too calm for a competition, but I've definitely been way too hyped up. The other thing that happens at the white belt divisions, I guess this happens at every single division, but it was something I was certainly not prepared for, was the time that it takes in between matches is a lot. Oftentimes there will be delays, the refs, won't be there won't be competitors ready, one match might take this long, another match might take this long. Just expect there to be delays, expect to be there longer than you anticipated, expect it to be an entire day's event. The other thing about white belt competitions, and this is true about jiu-jitsu competitions in general, is they cost like $100 like for a single division, maybe $200 if you want to compete in 2 divisions. And that's kind of expensive, and you definitely don't get paid if you win. You definitely just get like a medal. So there's that. But for some reason, people are willing to eat submissions for that medal. I've seen a lot of injuries in the white belt divisions because they're full of adrenaline and they're so hyped up and they want this $2 medal that they paid $100 for. They just will let their arm get broken. And it's quite nasty, it's quite brutal, but when your adrenaline's going, you don't feel pain, and you're also maybe not super aware of like when you're in danger and when you're not, you might just rip out of a submission. That brings me to another point about white belt competitions, is that you might get slammed, right? There are a lot of people who don't necessarily know what they're doing, which is part of being a white belt. People in a submission might pick you up and slam you down on the mat because that's what their instincts say to do to get out of it. But as we all know, when you get slammed, you get DQ'd. And, well, I guess if it's a submission in ADCC rule set, but if you're a white belt, you're probably not going to have to worry about slams legally. You'll have to worry about getting slammed illegally, and you'll win, but yeah, don't get injured. That's not fun. The other thing is the size of the brackets is always the largest in the white belt divisions. One thing I've noticed, because anyone can get a white belt when you show up at the door, and a lot of people drop out before they make it through the ranks, it's the largest division. So that's actually kind of nice because you can always expect to have matches. And usually you can expect to have a bunch of matches, which is really nice. So my recommendation for this situation is actually to try to get as many matches as you possibly can. As a white belt, I would recommend signing up for gi, no gi, and absolute. I mean, you're going to be exhausted, but if you can figure out how to control your energy and manage your pace, you're going to have a lot more exposure. And the more exposure you have, the more times you go out there on the competition mat, and do a match, the easier it's going to be. So if you go out there in a single elimination bracket in only the gi or no gi divisions, and then you lose and you only have one match, then all your experience is summed up in a single match and everything you did to prepare. But if you at least have 2 or 3 divisions, and maybe if it's double elimination, you'll have more matches out there. And not everybody wants more matches. Some people want to just have a single match and get like a gold medal and post it on Instagram. But if you're trying to get better at jiu-jitsu, you should try to expose yourself to as many competition matches as you possibly can. But the white belt divisions are definitely crazy. There are people, oh my lord, you won't believe some of the people who I've ran into at the white belt divisions. This one guy, you know what, I'll save my craziest white belt competition stories for another video. But one last thing about competing as a white belt. There's no pressure, right? Nobody cares. Don't tell your family. No, you can't tell your family. But it's a white belt competition. At the end of the day, everyone wants you to get better. Everyone wants you to go out there and not get hurt for the most part. So do it and get as many matches as you possibly can.